On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we'll be taking a look at another of the fall sports that's just recently completed their season. This week, it's women's volleyball. Our special guest will be head coach Kelly Hartley, and later on we'll be talking with one of the senior tri-captains, Jen Miller, as well. The item on the menu this week is women's volleyball. Our show is called Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Mize. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic today, women's volleyball. Season literally just completed hours ago, and we're happy and fortunate to have with us the head coach of the IPFW women's volleyball team, Kelly Hartley. And Kelly, first and foremost, I know you haven't had much rest from the long bus ride home from near Cleveland, so I do thank you for coming in today.
Appreciate that.
It's over. It's hard to believe, but this season is now over. Quick thought on it.
Quick thought on the season being over. Well, as you mentioned, we left the bus last night at 2:30, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to digest it. I'm hoping that in the next 5 months or whatever it is until we start practice again with spring ball. I guess it's less than that. You get over it a little bit, and it motivates you to. Cause when you lose in 5, your last match of the year, it certainly stings a little bit. So, we've got some work to do.
Well, I thought we would take this first segment from the last time you were on the show with us and play back in the mind at least some of the matches. Some had good results, some not so good results. And the first thing I want to do is go back to a match we had here at the Gates Center back on October the 9th when we took on Eastern Michigan from the Mid-American Conference. And Lady Eagles came to play volleyball that night. They took us out in 3, 22, 28, and 22.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my little green piece of paper that Colin prepared for me this morning. And I wrote a note to him trying to make me feel better. He looked up all of the teams that we played this year and their records right now. So Eastern Michigan right now is 17-9, so they've beat a lot of people, and it looks like showed up and beaten a lot of people. Mid-American Conference competition certainly was a step higher than a lot of teams we played, a lot of other conferences we played. The Horizon League has some really good teams, and so does the Mid-Continent Conference, but we were closer, competitively speaking, to those teams than we were to to Mid-American schools at this point.
What's the big difference?
Probably, who knows, the way they're funded, their tradition, the level of competition they're able to play. Certainly those are bigger schools, but probably with bigger budgets and those sort of things. And that does help.
I remember when you were on last, it was going to be a very important week ahead because you had Eastern, then you took on Toledo, and then Bowling Green. Of course, Toledo has to bring back some interesting memories.
Yeah, interesting is right. Those I still have anyway. It wasn't that long ago. That was a tough week. I don't know if it was any more important than any other week. It was just a tough week in that we played 3 Mid-American Conference schools the same week. In Eastern Michigan, Toledo, and Bowling Green. All of them who are well over 500. According to Colin here, Bowling Green is, Bowling Green's 18-6, Toledo's 15-9. Told you Eastern Michigan 17-9. So those are all teams are having a good season. And the Mid-American is in 2 divisions right now. They're in the same division, of course, being geographically close together, and that's a very tough division, the Mid-American.
Toledo match went 5.
Yeah,
lost
in
2.
16-14 is about as close as it gets. We played pretty well. I thought our kids did an exceptional job of executing our game plan. and we were going to commit to their middles and system and take the direction of their approach, and our middles did a really good job, and our other blockers helped out on their middles. We felt if we could stop the middles from taking over the match, we'd be okay. And we can dig balls when it's set to the outside pretty much, but it's really hard to defend middles sometimes. So we loaded up on their middles, and we did a really nice job with that. We took care of the ball, passed pretty well that match. It was a good match for us. We just came up short, and that's a good team. So,
when a match goes 5 sets, does the strategy change that much in Game 5? Because the first 4 games, the way the scoring system is set up now, you play rally points going to 30, win by 2. But if it goes to a Game 5, it reverts back to 15, win by 2.
Same scoring though, rally scoring. Only that you don't have as much time. You come out and you give up 4 or 5 points in the 5th game. You don't have as much time to catch up. And then you got to think in terms of how many side outs they are away from winning. And you got to play defense and get back in it. So, that Game 5, who has the most gas, who has the momentum swing, I think is real important in Game 5. Last night that hurt us. We were up 2-1, and then where was I last night?
Kent State.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Kent State then wins Game 4, so they have the pendulum swinging that way into Game 5, and that really helped them. So I think you have to pay attention to probably who has momentum in Game 5, and somehow talk your kids into getting it to change real quick early in Game 5. And you knew that. What were we? We went 5-9 times this year. And I think we were successful in 6 of those, won 6 of them. So I guess we were pretty good in Game 5, but not good enough last night.
Is it better to serve first or to serve first in a Game 5?
You would think it'd be better to receive first, to have the opportunity to pass and put the ball away, because at this level, offense does have the advantage. Definitely more in the men's game. That is true. But we've been actually better when we serve and have to play defense. I don't know why. We're not a good blocking team. So if I was a good blocking team, that would make sense. Or if I thought that the other team couldn't pass and put the ball away, that would make sense. But we didn't play anybody really like that this year. But we are good. We want to play defense. We dig a lot of balls. Evidence, if you look at our statistics, we outdug almost every team we played this year. So most teams probably would want to receive serve, but not us. We want to serve.
Have to be
Our
different.
captains felt good about it, and I didn't fight with them on that one. Yeah.
Well, we'll move along somewhat quickly. The finish, the triangle, you played Bowling Green and you lost, though they were close. 32-30, 30-27, 30-26. Then you went out to Chicago and took on Chicago State from the Mid-Con, and the role was reversed. You won that in 3. Then I'm going to skip a couple of matches because we're going to show highlights from them in our next segment. You came home and on senior day took on Wisconsin Green Bay, and you're down 2-1 going into the 4th, and we came from behind, and we won it 15-12 in 5.
Yeah, and again, we win Game 4, get some momentum going into Game 5. You feel pretty good, and then we are able to win at home for senior day, and that's always nice.
Yeah. Then you went to Findlay, University of Findlay, and I've been in that gymnasium. A tough place to play.
Have you been in it lately? They've done a ton of renovations. It really looks nice.
It's probably been a better part of 2 years. However,
looks really nice.
It was a unique place to play and a unique place to broadcast from, I'll tell you that much. But Findlay's got an awfully good team, and again, you went 5, and unfortunately you fell in the 5th.
Yeah, they're 28-6 right now. They're having a good year, and they're big. I don't care what division they are. They're big. They had like 6'4", 6'3", 6'2", 6. I mean, they're huge. So, they blocked a lot of balls, and we expected that. And we played them pretty tough. I think that we probably gave them too many easy things, and they were able to make us pay for that. But going on the road again and pushing it that close, we didn't play too bad. They just were a little better that day. They're having a good year.
One of the other matches, again, in the next segment, we're going to take a look at the Ball State match, the Butler match, and the Illinois-Chicago match, because we have highlights. That brings us to the last 2 matches. Last night, Kent State, the night before, Youngstown State, both on the road. Successful against Youngstown State, winning in 4. And as you say, the heartbreaking loss in 5 last night to Kent State.
You know, backing up to Youngstown State, they're big. I mean, and the officials before the match, boy, it's the end of the year, and I think you're the smallest Division I team we've ever seen. Thank you, you know. And he's right, though, we are, but on the flip side of that, we're a better team than Youngstown State, evidenced by the scores and the result of that day. We control the ball better. We played better backcourt defense. They blocked a lot of balls and could put the ball away, but once we got it past the block, you know, they had some issues, ball handling issues. So I feel pretty good. I mean, our kids are confident, even though we're small, we do some really nice things. And then Kent State, of course, last night. You know, I think we learned some things last night very important for our program to move forward in a positive direction too. If there is a good side of losing in 5 on the road, it would be that. We, I think, have pinpointed what we need to take it to the next level and to be a really good team at this level.
All right, we'll go into that in greater detail in another segment, but the year's over. 13 wins, 14 losses. I know one of the goals was to be over 500 and close, but no cigar. And I know it is frustrating for both the team and the coaches not to be able to obtain that goal, but at least the effort, I think, for the most part, was there.
Yeah, for the most part. You know, you can look back, boy, this one got away from us, this one, you know, last night got away from us, and then you got to think of why, you know, and how we're going to fix that, and if we're going to commit to fixing that, how we're going to be above 500, or unless our goal every year is going to be, you know, going to be a 500 team. And I certainly hope not. I don't think the kids we've recruited here feel that way either. So we have some work to do in the off season.
Time for a break, and hopefully I'll get part of my voice back. When we come back, as promised, we've got highlights from 3 matches, and we'll be bringing those to you when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Excuse me. Excuse me, are you Santa Claus? I heard you might be him. If you are him, here's my list.
Help the Marines make Christmas possible for less fortunate children. Donate a new toy to Toys for Tots.
Here's Santa Claus.
Was in another lifetime, one of toil and blood. When blackness was a virtue, the road was.
If we do not take responsibility for saving animals from extinction, we allow a part of ourselves to die with them. Help World Wildlife Fund protect animals in the places where they live by ordering a free action kit. Together, we can leave our children a living planet.
Come in, she said, I'll give ya shelter from the storm.
Have you saved a life today?
I took 2 flood victims to a shelter.
I donated a day's pay to help a family that lost everything in a fire.
Have you saved a life today?
I teach a class in infant CPR.
I donated a pint of blood.
Have you saved a life today?
No.
But today somebody saved mine.
The American Red Cross. Together, we can save a life.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic this week, women's volleyball, and our guest is the head coach of IPFW Women's Volleyball, Kelly Hartley. And Kelly, we tried to go through some of the final matches that you played this year. We've saved 3 for now because we happen to have highlights from those matches. And John's going to start the highlights in just a moment, but they were against Illinois Chicago, Butler University, and Ball State. And we'll let you run with it. We are in the white in this one on the near court. And Illinois Chicago didn't get out of the blocks very good. Ended up losing in 3, but games 2 and 3, 25 and 28.
Yeah, you know, and they're a good team in the Horizon. We went there without one of our regular starters, Chrissy Miller, who was taking an exam that day for the police academy or something like that. She's going to be a police officer. So I guess it's worth my while to suck up to her a little bit now that I'm done coaching her, so if I ever see her on the road. But so she wasn't able to travel with us this day, and that hurt us a little bit. And this is a very good team. Their record is a little bit misleading because they've now, unlike us, being successful in more, successful in 5 games more than being not successful, they've lost something like 8 matches in 5 games.
Wow.
So they're very close to having a very good year. It's not close enough. You know, this whole series we just watched there, I think, is an example of keeping the ball in play. We gave them some easy ones. You'd think they'd make us pay, but then they hit the ball out of bounds. So there's something to be said for playing defense, keeping the ball in play, being patient, and hoping the other team just hits it out, because you get a point.
Nicole Ray with the serve there.
Yeah, she served pretty tough this match. That's our senior there trying to dig that ball, but it's by her, swinging a mess. And Deanna had a ton of digs this year. Led our team in digs. Playing defense behind our 5'4" setter, I guess that's to be expected. She had to dig a lot of shots this year. And then we had a passing issue. Teams at this level serve the ball pretty tough. That was Janelle Pollard taking a big old swing, and then something soft to score. She's very good at seeing the court and placing the ball. She has a variety of shots. She hits the ball hard. That's a good shot. And she's a power tip. No one else on our team really does that, where she keeps her elbow straight and throws it hard. Does that well. And then, if she sees an opening, she just puts it there real soft and scores. That's the freshman, Melissa Meinhardt, in the middle, score there.
How difficult was it for you and Colin to find the right combination most of the time on the court this year?
Oh, we tried a lot of different things. At times it was tough. In this match, without Chrissy there, later in the match we made a change. Right now, Deanna Brown, our lefty, who usually is our opposite, was swinging from the left side of the court. Didn't make her very happy, but we felt like we needed someone who's going to take a swing out there. And so we made that change. That was very different. But there are times we started 3 freshmen, 4 freshmen. Our starting lineup was really rather fluid. There's Deanna Brown with a nice shot, a left-hander from that side of the court. Sometimes tough to swing from that side of the court, but she sees an opening line and hits it. The finesse shot.
And this would be the final
our
point
starting
from this
lineup,
match.
though, was quite fluid. I think that's just because we were young. There's Deanna Brown making them pay for the overpass, which you want to do, put the ball on the floor in a hurry.
We move ahead to a game at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis against Butler University, and this is one of the good final results. We won that one in 5. And this is game 5.
We got to spoil a couple of senior nights over the last week. Butler was senior night, and Youngstown State had senior night. So that was fun. And we were up after, we won game 4. So it's 2-2, but we won game 4, and I think we had some momentum going into 5, which helped us. And they're a good team. They're a real good team. Playing on the road, it was a neat place to play. It felt a little different, though, the big field house concept.
Both teams in white in this game.
And there's Deanna Brown with a dig, and then 2 points for nobody. Just 2 points on the basketball score clock that we're not using this game. Gotta laugh, even though it...
Tougher to play in a bigger arena as opposed to a...
It just feels different. The lights were a little different. If there's a lot of space behind the court, maybe somehow the court feels longer. You might rip the ball a little bit more than you need to, and the court really is the same. If it feels different, it does affect play a little bit. And then in those big field houses, sometimes you get, it sounds weird, a little bit of a wind current going, so the ball might float a little bit different, float out, float in when you're serving or whatever. So it is different.
I know next week we hope to have Artie Ball on for our men's volleyball preview, and I vividly remember last year hearing people like Jeff Patak especially not comfortable playing in St. John's Arena in Columbus at Ohio State because it is so big.
It's too big. And to me, the big places just aren't good volleyball places. It doesn't feel right. It's been kind of nice. Some of the programs we visited this year have their own volleyball facility. At Wright State, they had this court in their student center, I think, and it was only for women's volleyball. 12 months a year, it was the women's volleyball facility. And I think it sat maybe, I don't know, 800 or so, so it felt like a lot of people were there. And it was exciting. You know, you could hear the fans. You get in those big arenas and sometimes you get lost. The sport isn't really meant to be played in that big of an arena, I don't think. Unless you had 50,000 people there or something, that'd be cool. There's a good shot. Janelle Pollard with the wipe off the block at 5'7". She's had to, I think we list her as 5'8". Don't tell anybody. But she's managed to add that to what we were talking about, the shots that she's developed. One of them is hitting high hard off the fingertips or off the blocker's hand and scoring points that way for us.
We are in the far court as
Correct.
you're watching this.
We wore white that day. I don't know. Our kids, I don't know if they try and make the other team mad and wear white on their home court, and I don't get involved in what they wear. I try not to sweat the small stuff. I did read that book. What they wear, not a big deal. And we're not in a conference, so it's not like the conference is telling us what to do, so we didn't feel like they could tell us what to do either as far as what to wear. Till we pay dues, we're wearing what we want.
Okay.
Can you tell that I haven't had much sleep? Even though I look good, I'm a little moody today.
Well, it seems like a long way away from where that serve originated.
We dug a nice ball there. Block gets on that one. They give us something easy. Hopefully we can do something with it. But, you know, Deanna hits it out. And, you know, that's, you see how the play was kind of bunched up there? We probably needed to get a better set to Deanna so she would get 2 feet to the ball and take a good swing.
I believe this is coming up, believe it or not, on match point in this match.
So all we need to do is side out now is what you're telling me.
Yes, ma'am. Butler's going to serve.
Well, I won't spoil it for all the fans anticipating what happens next here. Yay! That's a good shot we talked about too. Chrissy Miller hits high off the fingertips of the block. Ball then ricochets out of bounds, and the defenders, the backcourt defenders, can't run it down.
This is last week against Ball State here at the Coliseum, a match that you were able to reschedule. And do you wonder if it was worth it rescheduling? Because
yeah, I do.
are pretty good.
I mean, obviously we hurt our record because we did get thumped in 3 pretty good. But I do think it helped our program because we're able to talk about, boy, what do we need to be like that? You know, I think those kids probably train 12 months a year pretty hard. They're very lean, they're very athletic, they're a big team, and they take care of the ball too. So we've played big teams who have ball control issues, like Youngstown State. Good program, but they do have ball control issues. Ball State, on the other hand, they hit the ball well, they serve the ball hard, they block a ton of balls, they're big.
Yeah, they got the two, Susie Meshberger, whose brother attended IPFW and played basketball for a year. She's 6'3".
It's a good shot by Chrissy Miller there in the deep corner.
And they got another gal that was real tall, over 6 foot. And
yeah, they're a big team, but they're fast at the same time and handle the ball extremely well. And with the exception of Game 2, which we were in and probably had an opportunity to win, and there's another example of an unforced error. In Game 2, they did some miscommunication things, and some unforced errors gave us some points. But in Games 1 and 3, there wasn't a lot of that.
And this is Game 2 right now, a game which ultimately ended up 30-28 in favor of Boston.
Yeah, so we were in that one. In fact, I think at one point it might have been tied and we missed a serve or something. So we had an opportunity to take a game from them and didn't get it done.
When you get a situation, and Game 2 I thought was the key game, as you said, you had the chances to win this one, and you would have gone into that little break even at a game apiece, and instead you're down 2 and now your back's into the wall.
Yeah,
what do you say at that point to him?
Well,
or what did you say that you can say in the air?
I don't remember. We're not going to go there. But you're right. That's a very good point. At the break between Games 2 and 3, we could have been 1-1 with the momentum on our side coming out of the locker room. So that's crucial. And then they could have been, Ball State also hadn't played well on the road all year really until this match.
This is game 3 now, and we end up losing it 30-20, but there were some moments.
Yeah, you know, right there, our middle back person really was up too far. She didn't release from her base and get back to the baseline and get a read on that ball. And if she did, she would have been able to run that down, hopefully. Our middle back person sometimes does not release when they set something high to one of the pins and then get a read in the seam. And when they stand still, they're not in a position to dig balls. These lights are killing me. It feels like a major interrogation here. Sweating.
Well, we'll talk to John and Bernie about that.
Yeah. Get some fans going in here. There's something easy. Get a nice pass, Kirsta. But that set probably could have been further out the antenna, so Deanna had something to do with it. Might have been a little tight, too. Tight and inside in front of a big block like that, there's really handcuffs the hitters. Not much they can do with it, as you see from there. Pretty good pass, number 8, Kirsta. There's now Pollard hitting from the right side. Finds a way to get it done. Boy, Janelle Pollard, at the end of the year, really came on for us. Here's a freshman, only 5'7", on the weekend against Youngstown State and Kent State. She hits about 310, best on the team, her efficiency. And on most of the year before that, she's been hitting about 200. She started off, I think, even below that. So she just got better and better and better. And then our final weekend puts up really good numbers and started to pass and play defense, too. At the beginning of the year, we even put a DS in for her a little bit. But she's determined to want to stay in and take care of the ball. And she's worked pretty hard to do that.
That's it. Highlights from 3 matches. And successful on 1 and unsuccessful on 2. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with one of the senior tri-captains on this year's team, Jen Miller, and get her thoughts on the season just concluded. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Am I done?
Nope, we have one more segment.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids, who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
Stargate. That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilka and the rest of my team use on Stargate SG-1. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. An education can provide you with a similar passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and graduate.
Dr. Hermine Van Nuys is a professor who teaches her English literature classes with passion to inspire her students.
I'm very passionate about what I teach. I love the literature I teach. And I'm very proud of the faculty in my department.
Her 30 years of dedication to IPFW has earned her much respect on the collegiate level.
We offer really a wonderful English major, I think, with a number of opportunities. There really is much more, I think, probably a personal relationship established in our classes because they tend to be smaller.
Because of her experience, Dr. Van Nuys recognizes IPFW's advantages over other universities.
Students here can come to our offices. They will be seen by us. We speak to them, which is the ideal way, I think, to teach.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now for the student-athlete portion of the program, one of my favorites. And we're very happy to have back with us once again. I call her one of our regulars, but we welcome Tri-Captain and Senior Jen Miller back to the program. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's over. It's hard to believe, but this season is over. Talk about it, or I know literally it's just hours since this season has ended. Because I know you played the match at Kent State and got back in the wee hours of the morning, but have you had a chance to think back about what this season has been all about?
Well, maybe not really, and it probably really hasn't set in yet. Actually, you know, probably here in a few months, or when they start doing their spring ball, it'll start to get to me. But you know, it was a different year. It was a hard year, and I knew that coming in, and you have to get through it.
What were not only your personal goals, but the team goals at the outset of the season? I mean, this was a new adventure for everybody. The jump from Division II to Division I, leaving the Great Lakes Valley Conference, where you were regular season champs last year. Now you entered into uncharted territory. What were the hopes and dreams at the beginning of the season, and how many of those hopes and dreams were actually realized?
Well, one of our goals was to be above 500, and we just barely didn't make that one, but to learn the system, get a lot of people familiar with things, and I think we did that. You know, we have a new setter this year, and I feel like, you know, we've taught her what is expected and what is wanted out of her. Just to fight and to play hard, try to figure out maybe what conference that they would fit into in the future, and we did pretty good in a few of those different conferences, played a lot of different teams.
You just completed 4 years of collegiate volleyball here at IPFW. Take a look back. Think back when you came onto campus from down in Newcastle. What's all transpired in those 4 years? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, there are a lot of goods. That's the better part of it all, and it really sucks for me that it has to end this way. You know, like with the going from Division II to Division I, and not being able to play in a tournament, in a conference, and having to end your season like that, and end your career like that, because it only seemed like yesterday when I came up here to play. But it's been a great experience, and I'll never forget it, and I'll miss it a lot.
I remember the first time that we had you on the program, it was not for volleyball, but it was for basketball, because you did play, I believe, 2 years here at IPFW. Do you regret the decision to give up basketball to concentrate solely on volleyball, or are you happy with the decision that you made a little over a year ago?
No, I'm pretty much happy with the decision I made. I mean, things with my basketball career weren't going the way that volleyball was, and last year our season we had a really excellent season, and for me to concentrate and to be able to be a captain this year and to devote as much time and energy to this sport, I couldn't play both. And I miss it, but you know, you have to sacrifice some things.
I want to take a moment, Jen, and throw some numbers out at you, and then I'd like to see what your response is. 4 years of intercollegiate competition. You had 652 kills. You had 98 digs. Only 11 assists, as we said off air. You're not going to be a setter. But you do hold the career blocking record here at IPFW. A grand total of 379 total blocks, 72 solos, 307 assists. What's your proudest moment as an IPFW volleyball player?
Well, it was probably when, you know, I set that record. That was nice. But just, I mean, records are just something that go along with the sport, you know, stats and stuff. Winning and playing as a team and having fun is first priority, and it was nice to set that, you know, to say that I did something here and my name will be in the record books, but it's kind of something that just goes along with it.
Let's throw one more set of numbers out at you. 4 years of competition, you participated on teams that won 87 and lost 37 matches. That's just a little over 70%, 700%, or 70% winning percentage. Talk about what the team aspect has been like over these past 4 years.
This team is so much team-oriented. It's amazing to me. It just, when I first got here, it amazed me how much this program works as a team, and those numbers right there help, make me feel better, especially after this past season. Overall, if you look at something that's like, well, that's pretty nice. I contributed to that, and you can go out thinking you did something that's pretty amazing, that's pretty good.
I know I probably asked it a little bit, or maybe in a different way earlier, but can you give us your happiest moment, your saddest moment, and your most embarrassing moment on a volleyball court here at IPFW?
Saddest moment probably was, last night. It's tough. We lose our last one, come just one match short of our goal. It's the last time I'll ever play in a uniform on a court for this team, and that was by far probably the saddest moment. One of the happiest moments, there's been too many to count, being able to go to the conference tournament, NCAA tournament earlier and on, winning on my senior night, playing on the team last year that did so great and beating big teams like Lewis, and those are just some of the greatest times. Embarrassing moments, when you play sports, you're always going to have embarrassing moments. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to do stupid things, so I probably couldn't pick one out. There's probably a lot.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you had the chance to play for two coaches, Tim Heffron, Kelly Hartley. Your experience with each?
Well, I didn't have much experience with Coach Heffron. It was my first year here, but I learned a lot from him just because he recruited me here, and I knew that he had a lot of faith in me, and he really needed me as a middle. And when Kelly Hartley came in, Coach Hartley, it was a little different. I hadn't had many female coaches, but I really liked her. I liked her aspect. I liked the fact that she kept us team-oriented, kept us running as a team, and a lot of things that we did were centered around team concepts, and I liked that about her.
You were one of the 3 tri-captains this year. You and I think your fellow seniors, Deanna Brown and Chrissy Miller. What does it mean to you, or what did it mean to you to be a captain of the team?
Especially with this year, I think it was really important to the 3 of us. You had 6 freshmen come in and a new setter, and they have to learn everything. And then you're going from a transition from Division II to Division I, and it's different than the years before because you don't have a set schedule. You play in a conference and everything, and you have to teach the kids, the younger underclassmen, just how things should be and set a standard for what the program should be in the future.
And you had a lot of road trips this year. Now, granted, most of them were bus rides where, you were there and back in a matter of hours. But talk about that transition, what you and Deanna and Chrissy were able to pass on to the younger players, like a Lindy or a Janelle, Janelle, I'll get it right, Pollard. But talk about what you were trying to get across to them, the do's and don'ts, and did they accept what the 3 of you said?
Sometimes I think it was hard for them. When you're coming from a different program to here, it's hard to change, especially if you're used to the way things are run. But yeah, most of them were pretty open-minded and really just ready to change and ready to accept what we had. It wasn't that hard.
Let's put the crystal ball on now. Now that you are technically done playing, where do you see the program going from here?
I think it can go nowhere but up. They got a lot of good kids that are only going to get better. I think once they get into a conference and get a set schedule and be able to play for something like a tournament or the NCAA regionals, that things will get better and they're going to be a great team.
Now let's turn to the personal side. You're a senior, and you hope to graduate sometime down the road. What do you hope to get your degree in?
My degree is going to be in graphic design and commercial art.
And then what do you hope to do following graduation?
Get a job. Hopefully in advertising, though. I'd like to go into advertising.
Any preliminary thoughts of sticking around in volleyball in some way, shape, or form, be it playing at the club level or getting into coaching at some level?
I really hadn't thought too much about coaching. I'm sure if the opportunity came, I wouldn't pass it by, but it's not something that I'm going to strive for.
2 questions left, I think. Question 1, and I haven't asked this in quite a while to some of our student athletes, to a prospective student athlete who is watching our show and considering coming to IPFW to go to school and to perhaps play volleyball, what's the best piece of advice you could give that person?
Come out and meet the team. They're a great bunch of girls, and be ready to work hard and to give everything you got to the team, because we give it all. We give it our all. It's a great program.
Final question. What would you like to say to your team in regards to anything?
Just thanks for everything they've done for us this senior year. It's been really tough this year. It really has, and they've all pulled through and done everything they can just to make it easier on us and to make sure that we're happy and we have a good senior year.
Thanks an awful lot for coming in, and congratulations on 4 successful years here at IPFW, both in the classroom and on the volleyball court. We wish you the best in your future endeavors, and stop by and say hi down the road.
All right, thank you.
Jen Miller has been our guest, one of the senior tri-captains on this year's IPFW women's volleyball team. We'll take a break and then bring Coach Kelly Hartley back and take a look at what's ahead for the women's volleyball program. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
Matthew Shepard died after he was beaten and tied to a fence. 2 men have been charged. One pleaded guilty.
You know, my biggest regret after walking into the hospital and seeing him was I didn't tell him enough as a father that I loved him. The thing that I've learned most is that your son is your son and your daughter is your daughter, regardless of whether they're straight or gay.
Welcome back to our final segment on this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic this week is women's volleyball, and returning to the set is head coach Kelly Hartley. And
returning to the set,
it's over.
You didn't let me leave the set and get water. This hot light is still on me. I've been sitting here. This is.
Send your thoughts, comments, complaints to Bernie Lowmiller, care of College 56 Sports.
Okay.
2101 East Coliseum Boulevard.
What about John? I can't let John have it.
John,
too.
well, you can put him at attention of.
Okay.
13 and 14, as I said in the segment past, not what the team wanted, but that's what the team ended up. I know we did a segment a while back where we actually asked for a report card, and now we get to do it again. You can talk individuals, you can talk the team, talk to you and Colin. How did this team do?
Well, I give the coaching staff, of course, an A, especially Colin, who I now know is watching the program, so I can't talk behind his back nasty like I usually do. So Colin gets an A+ today. Okay. Then, you know, instead of individuals, I'll start off with the team, because that's where our focus needs to be in a team sport. And I would say a B-. I think our effort usually was pretty good. I don't think we played particularly smart. I think there were times we got away from the team concept and were more worried about, you know, boy, I had a bad match, or I really screwed that up, instead of, you know, how do I make this team better? And I think that our young kids will learn from that and go forward. So maybe a B-. Our expectation was our goal was to finish higher than 500, and we didn't get it done. And we could say it was close and make excuses and all that, but we didn't get it done.
I mentioned I wanted to throw a couple of numbers out at you. 13 and 14 overall, 6 and 3 in 5-set matches. And as you alluded to earlier in the program, that's not bad, it's not great, but 6 and 3 is better than a number of other combinations. Against conferences, 1 and 5 against the Mid-American Conference, 3 and 2 against the Horizon League, and 5 and 1 versus Mid-Con opponents. I know you talked earlier about how the MAC is actually a step up. If you look at numbers, you would think we would match up best with the Mid-Con, but that's looking at numbers. What is the
Numbers? What maybe numbers?
Well, 5 and 1 against Mid-Con opponents, 3 and 2 against the Horizon League.
I think.
Where do you think we really do match up best?
I think our volleyball program, perhaps our, I don't want to speak for our whole department, but perhaps our whole department at this point, with the exception of men's volleyball, is more like the Mid-Con schools. Some of them, Oakland and IUPUI, for example, have transitioned to Division I within the last 5 to 10 years anyway. And so we're more like those schools in terms of budgets and some other things, and size. And then the Horizon, boy, they have some private schools that do very well financially, I know, and have a long tradition. I mean, you walk around Butler and there's, 1912 this happened, and all this stuff, and they have a lot of history. And they've been Division I a long time. That's a tough thing to play against, that experience and the tradition year after year, not just the kids on the court, but the tradition of the school when you walk into that building. So, and our kids get to hear about those teams on ESPN, and, we haven't heard IPFW too many times, I don't think. So it's just that whole mystique, I think, is tough. But yeah, you're right, we're probably competitively better off in the Mid-Con. The Horizon, I think, would be geographically better for us. And boy, if I get to pick, I guess the Horizon, but I don't think I get to pick. Do I?
Talk to Mark about that one. You'll probably get angry with me, and I apologize in advance, but I am going to ask you.
Well, then don't do it. Why are you doing that to me?
Because that's what I'm told I'm supposed to do sometimes. If you can, you lose in 3 seniors. It's always tough to lose seniors, but talk about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of some of your players this year. And where do you think this team needs to improve and where they excel?
Okay, that's a lot of questions at once. I'll talk about the seniors. Jen Miller, who you're going to talk to, I guess, next segment, you're going to know.
I just had last segment.
Okay, you already talked to her. She does a very articulate, she's a very smart young lady. She has been through 2 major surgeries. She had knee surgery and ankle surgery over her 4 years here and came back from those. So she's a very determined young woman. And you can tell from talking to her how articulate and smart she is. So, we're going to miss her. Unfortunately, and she knows it's not in her nature to be the, gosh darn it, and that type of player, to demand things from others and kind of be nasty once in a while. But certainly from example, she leads from example with her determination. And then Deanna Brown, boy, there's someone who is so gifted, physically gifted, and really worked hard over just my 3 years here, got in better shape, increased her vertical, did all the things we asked her to do. She's very hard on herself, though. I wish she could have relaxed and had more fun while she played, but she's very competitive, and she's a real smart young lady, and she's going to have a good career in whatever she decides to do. Chrissy Miller then joined our team just this year, so this was her first and final year playing for us, and she's a very generous young person. She wants to bring the kids cookies and donuts, and she's very giving in that way, and she's very fun too. She likes to smile on the court and have a good time, and I think she brought to our team this year someone who put the ball away. She really improved in the blocking department. So we were happy to have her for even just if it was 1 year. So we'll miss all 3 of those seniors. But our young kids then, I think, will learn how to go forward and what they need to do to be effective seniors. Learn from those seniors we're losing, those 3, and Deanna, Chrissy, and Jen, and then also learn maybe how to do things even better.
You've got some good talent coming back.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Talk about it.
Yeah. Our setter, who's only 5'4", I think did a pretty good job. Her location at times wasn't very good, but we're going to spend more time with her in the winter and the spring, which we didn't get to do in the fall, and she's going to continue to get better. So we were excited about that. She plays very good backcourt defense, and I think even on tape you saw her block a ball against maybe Ball State it was.
Is there such a thing as a 6-inch shoe that could be placed on her to get her from
I don't
5'4" to
think
6
so.
foot?
I don't think so. But she does a really nice job. And what she, it did hurt us. Her size hurt us at times. But then the way it helped us was she plays extremely good backcourt defense, and there weren't too many passes that she didn't run down and get her hands on. She's very quick. And we watched a lot of bigger setters who were pretty good blockers struggle sometimes out past the 10-foot line, getting out there to get their feet to the ball and put the ball up where a hitter can swing and system. So, and then Janelle Pollard I talked about a little bit earlier. She just continued to get better, and I like her attitude. She can be kind of nasty, kind of mean. Takes a very hard swing and wants to become a complete player. Not afraid to open her mouth too, and put herself out there like that, and I respect that. We'll probably do this a couple times over the next 4 years, but that's okay. I like the players that challenge me. And then Sarah Leffers, it's too bad she's not, 4 or 5 inches higher, because she really would be an outside hitter. Her skills are pretty good. And more importantly, she'd be on the court for us all the time, because she's only on the court for us half the time in the defensive specialist role, and she's the person that emotionally picks us up. That comes in and starts jumping around, having fun, and is genuinely happy for others when they, put the ball away or block a ball or whatever. She gets excited and is, the cheerleader for somebody else. And that's fun to play with, I think. It's certainly fun to watch her play. So Sarah Leffers, I see becoming an immediate leader of this team, as soon as when they start on their own workouts next week, and I think they will. So. Those are 2 people, very young people who have coming back. Lindy, I said, that's 3. Melissa Meinhardt. Lindsey Brammer really has improved. We don't know what position she'll play in the future, but I bet she'll be on the court. She's improved a ton. I know I'm missing a bunch of people. Nicole Ray returns. We had, on a lot of those clips you saw, probably 3 freshmen on the court at a time, 2 sophomores in our DSs, and Kirsta Solberg is a sophomore. And she played a variety of positions for us this year and ended up the last probably quarter or third of the year or something playing middle for us. That's Kirsta Solberg, and she's a sophomore. So I really like our young kids.
You got to hit the recruiting trail now. What's the biggest need?
Size. I'd say size. I think we have kids who are very good and are going to continue to be role players and can pass the ball and take care of the ball and understand the team concept and all those things. But you just can't coach size, I guess, in any sport, can you? So we need some size, and we'll find it.
Next year's schedule, I know probably hasn't even begun, but obviously you and Colin have talked to a number of schools. Can you say anything right now in terms of what we might expect to see next year in terms of opponents?
Well, next year in Division I volleyball, there are 4 weekends available for tournaments. So instead of 3, there'll be an extra tournament weekend. And we do plan on hosting one. We didn't host one this year. And the 4th weekend of play next year, we plan on hosting. I can't announce who those teams are yet. I think that's premature, but they're good teams. And we will go to the Purdue. We've committed to the Purdue tournament, the Miami of Ohio tournament, and then there's a weekend where we're looking at doing a trip. We didn't get to do a trip this year, as you know, because of the tragedy in our nation. We did not go to the Coastal Carolina tournament, which was going to be our nice trip. So we plan to do that next year, and I'm not sure where yet. We're talking to a couple of different teams.
Geez, Hawaii sounds good.
Hawaii does sound good. I'll call you about that, see if you can get us in that
just
one.
don't call collect.
Okay.
Final question, Kelly. Looking back, it's a 3-part question. I'm trying to help, John.
I know, because I can't remember 3-part questions.
Part 1, most enjoyable part of this year. Part 2, least enjoyable part of this year. And Part 3, you gave Colin an A+, but I haven't heard a grade for Kelly.
Oh, please. Well, I'll answer Part 3. I always tell my players, if we would just assume I'm right most of the time, we'd all be a lot better off and not have these negotiations and back and forth stuff. So of course I have to give myself an A. I have to laugh at the end of that one, beat everybody else to it. What was the first part? The most enjoyable part of the season?
The most enjoyable part of this year and the least enjoyable part of this
those
year.
bus rides were, of course, not enjoyable. But it sure is fun. I like being around my team. I like the kids, and we have fun when we're together, whether it's in the bus or in a restaurant, in the hotel. So I did get to spend more time with our kids a little bit. That's probably the upside of the year, if I can find a positive of all the travel. I also have to look back at some of the teams we beat, and I felt really good about beating Indiana State in 5 down at their place in a tournament. We beat Valpo twice. We beat Butler in 5 at their place. So one of my I share this with the team because I didn't want to pick this out, but I really want to do well against the teams in Indiana, the teams that we're going to have to be out recruiting against. So now I get to say that we beat Valpo twice and Butler and Indiana State. IUPUI got away from us and Ball State got away from us, but I think we did well within our state. And that makes me smile. Disappointing. Maybe losing last night, coming so close to a goal that we had set for ourselves, and the way we lost last night was pretty disappointing.
Well, now you get to rest. And you don't have to come and see me
I
for
do?
a while. Yes. John says,
Colin, did you hear that? We get to
John
rest
says
now.
we're out of time.
And Mark Pope, my boss, we get to rest. Thank you.
You and Mark can deal with that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on the various times this year. I do appreciate it.
I appreciate what you've done for us. Thank you.
We wish you the best, and we'll talk to you later on when we can talk about recruiting once you're able to announce some signees, but we'll talk to you later in the year.
Okay, great.
But thank you much.
I think those clips are really nice. They don't have to look at us for, 12 minutes there? They didn't have to look at us?
Thanks again. Kelly Hartley has been our guest, head women's volleyball coach here at IPFW. We thank her, and we thank Jen Miller as well, senior tri-captain, for appearing on this week's show. And as always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. We invite you to come back next week. We hope to have the men's head volleyball coach, Arnie Ball, with us, and that will be a fun time to say the least. But that is next week, and until next week, this is Mike Miles saying, have a great week. See you at the Coliseum on Friday night for the basketball opener against Morehead State, and go Dons. Last year, no doubt, was one of the most frustrating years for Coach Arnie Ball and his IPFW Volleydons. This year, things hope to be better. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we have Coach Ball with us, and we'll take a look at the upcoming season for IPFW Volleyball. Our show is Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maas. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, last year was probably one of the more frustrating years for IPFW men's volleyball. Volleydons finished 9-15 overall, and very Very unlike the years of the past where they've always been a contender and have made a couple of Final Fours and so forth. But that was last year, and this year we're getting ready for the new season, and we are honored to have for our annual visit the head coach of the Mastodons, Coach Arnie Ball. And as always, Coach, thank you much for coming on the show.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about our team and the upcoming season.
Before we talk about this season, I got to talk a little bit about last season because no doubt it was not only frustrating, it made you grow hair instead of hair leaving.
Well, I don't know about that growing hair thing, but maybe that's why I got it all shaved off. My frustration dues turned into a full-time due, and so it's easy to take care of. Maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. Certainly last year was frustrating for not only me, but for the guys on the team. Our league was very sound, and we had a great schedule, but we never were just able to put a total team effort together. We went through some major frustrations with personnel. We never had any, never got the leadership that we felt we needed. And of course, we didn't have any seniors, so sometimes that it's difficult for the young people to step up. There was some controversy for our program a little bit with the Division I thing, and so that made it a little more difficult, and certainly all that's behind us now. We were real dependent last year on a couple of freshmen, and they just weren't able to handle the high level of play that we needed to play, and certainly the high level of somewhat self-induced, I think, pressure that comes along with playing in a program like ours and playing this kind of schedule we play and the teams we play. So hopefully those guys have grown a little bit, got a little better. We had a couple of positions that were very, very inconsistent. And in volleyball, because you handle the ball so much and you're dependent upon handling the ball so much, if you get a couple of key positions that are inconsistent, that makes for a very long season. So the upside to that is that my golf game this summer has been really, really good. So maybe that's a good omen.
Not only was, you mentioned a lot of things that happened, but there were some rule changes last year. The rally point system, where a point in every serve, and the net serve, where it was actually in play, and I know there was another one. Now that you had a year to look at it, and looking back, were those rule changes good for the game on a collegiate level, or would you like to go back to some of the old rules?
No, matter of fact, we need to make some more changes. I like the rally scoring. I know there are a significant number of coaches that don't like it necessarily, but what it's done is it's made a tendency to equal the teams. And that I mean the teams that are maybe more talented and less talented, the scores are more balanced because of the fact that you score all the time. Now, some coaches don't like that, especially those that have a large talent pool. In our scenario, where we're unable to develop a strong depth base just because of a lot of reasons, but that's for another show. It's a benefit, I think, to our program. I also think it's a tremendous benefit to the fans. Every fan I've talked to, when they first see it, go, ooh, ooh. And then when the match is over, they come back and go, that's really good. That's really exciting. It makes the game more exciting. I don't sit there and wait for a point for 5 minutes and finally somebody gets one. And of course, the let serve, everybody's had to think about that thing for a while and play with it because once again, coaches and players and fans go, well, geez, I don't want the match to be decided on a ball that hits the net and goes, falls over the net. Well, it isn't any different than any other sport. The ball, you shoot a basket and it goes boop, 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 and falls through, or you shoot a basket from the half court and somebody makes one and it counts 3 points instead of 2 and you win by 1. I mean, it's all, put it all in perspective. But the thing the net serve has done is, number one, it's taken the official out of the game because the official doesn't have to call that little tick at the net. Number two, it's continued play. Before when the ball hit the net and went over, it was automatically blow the whistle, stop the game. Well, anything we can do to make the game flow more, I think is very good. And the let serve has done that. And so I think both of those are real positive because it's made the game flow. Then the third thing that happened was the libero player. And the libero player is a player that comes in and plays just in the back court for anybody. Obviously, you can only have one at a time, but there's no take time to stand at the net and hold your hand and substitute and do all this signaling kind of stuff. The guy just goes in and goes out. And I also think that has been a good rule in regards to allowing the smaller player, the smaller athletic player, make some great defensive plays. Now, the thing that it has done is it's made the offenses better because the passing's gotten better because that person's a specialist. But I think all three of those rules have been really good. Now we just got to go one more step yet, and we've got to decide how we're going to decide the match won and lost in regards to sets. That's what they call them international games. We call them in the U.S. because we still play 3 out of 5, so it still can be an hour or 2 hours. And if we're ever going to get on the boob tube, which we need to do, we've got to have it standardized so that it's about an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's going to be depending upon the quality of play, that it's pretty much still going to maintain that hour 40, hour and 50-minute time limit so that we can have it on television. And I have some ideas, and there's a whole bunch of ideas out there. There are going to be some people really throw a fit about doing that because volleyball has always been a 2 out of 3 or a 3 out of 5 kind of thing. But let's face it, what we have here is a form of entertainment. All sport is a form of entertainment. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to entertain people, you've got to give them what they want, not necessarily what you want. And time in our society today is extremely important, not only for individuals, but for television as well. Boy, that was a whole bunch on it, huh?
I'd like to see it go, talk a little bit further. You have a number of ideas. Granted, the quality of play is not always the same for the different teams. So how do you channel it in so we can get that guaranteed, so to speak, 90 to 135 minutes of play?
Well, actually, it's real simple. You just copy basketball. It's as simple as that. You either play quarters or halves, and you have a big timeout or halftime, and then you play another quarter and a half. Now, there are all kinds of ways to look at that. You can do a running score thing. Well, people don't like that because they say if you get too far behind, you can't catch up. My point there is, let's see, in basketball, if you get way behind, can you catch up? I think so.
Sure.
But the advantage that volleyball would have in that scenario was that there's still no clock. The only thing that maintains our time is the rally score. And see, the rally score does that. It does maintain time. People don't realize it because it's not running off on the scoreboard. But you can take the rally game, and I can tell you how long it will take to play a 30-point game, a 25-point game, or a 15-point game, because you score a point every time. So we can maintain the time that way. So you can catch up. Another scenario is to play the quarters, and so if you win the first quarter, carry over into the second quarter, so you win the first half. You play the second half, start all over. Play the second half. If first team wins the first half, second team wins the second, then you have a 7-point tiebreaker at the end, just like overtime. Just like basketball, and our sport is not basketball, and we don't want it to be basketball. But basketball has the right idea as far as marketing and television. Football is the same way. They play 4 quarters, and they have a big time half. It's a little hard to copy hockey because they have 3 periods, and we really need an additional. We need a halftime so people can go get popcorn, go to the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, our game, they don't have that. So those are some ideas. Now, there's some other ideas about scoring systems, whether you should score 2 points for a blocked ball, score 2 points for an ace. They're looking at the basketball 3-point thing. I don't like any of that stuff. I like what we're doing right now. It's very simple, very easy to understand. And now if we put some kind of a time sequence in, once again, not necessarily the clock, but a time dictated by the rally scoring, we can very easily predict an hour and 45 minutes.
Interesting. Rally scoring this year in women's volleyball, they went from the old ways of side-outs, games to 15, to 30-point game. I believe last year we were 25-point.
We were 30 also.
We were 30.
Okay. International is 25.
Okay.
But and I have no idea why, we decided to go 30. I voted against that, not because I think 30 is bad, but I'm an old traditionalist in the fact that we ought to be training kids to play at the highest level that they possibly can play. Well, they play 25 points internationally, So we ought to be playing 25 points. We chose 30. I'm not sure why. One of those deals.
When might it be acted on again, as far as from the national scene or the committees? Or
well,
or are we locked into it for a while?
Volleyball is like basketball. It's all political stuff, and we have to sell rule books, and so everybody writes their own rules. It's like the girls doing different kinds of things than the men. We ought to be playing the same dang rules. Never going to happen, unfortunately. Probably won't be addressed until after the 2004 Olympics. Most generally, that's when the international governing body meets, is right after the Olympics, and evaluates all the things that they've done, changes they have made, and things that they want to reevaluate and change. So I'm guessing right now that we're probably locked in at least for a couple of years, which is okay because we need to get used to that, but eventually we got to address that other thing.
Speaking of the Olympics, I know I'm darting off course just a little bit, but I'm going to enjoy this. When we visited last year, of course, your son Loy was he was the captain of the Olympic team. And unfortunately, down in Australia, things didn't go as well as everyone here in the U.S. would have liked. I know one of the questions I asked you was, what are your thoughts for 2004? Might Loy be back? And you mentioned that if Loy comes back, possibly one of the conditions might be that you're involved with the national team. Has that changed at all? And as far as you know, what are Loy's tentative plans right now?
Well, I don't think any of that's changed. Loy took last summer off. He had some knee surgery, so he had to rehab and get caught up. And he hadn't had any time, literally hadn't had any time off for 8 years. And you know, physically, he's not getting any younger, and so physically, that really took its toll on him. He's playing now in Italy on a very, very good team, and the Italian league is the #1 league in the world. So he's playing with all these other international players, the Russians and the Brazilians, and I mean, they're all over there playing. His plans for next summer are to come back to Fort Wayne and to continue to rehab and to do some things that he and I have together from a business standpoint, and then to reevaluate. Because that'll be the halfway mark between Australia and Athens. And so at that point, I think he's going to reevaluate whether or not that's something he wants to do. I think it will depend upon the status of USA Volleyball right now. They have some financial concerns that they need to address. And so then I think he would reevaluate all that and decide whether or not that's something he really wants to do again, something that he doesn't want to do again, something that if I'm a part of it, whether or not that's important to him or not. I mean, all that's still in the mix. And I do know that the U.S. team still is very interested in being part of it in 2004, but there are some serious issues, both personal and from a business standpoint, that may help decide whether or not he does it or not.
The U.S. Olympic team, correct me if I'm wrong, and you've been involved with this for a number of years, both directly and indirectly. It almost seems like they almost wait literally until the last minute to put the team together, like maybe 6 months before the games. Good idea, bad idea? If you look at some of the other, and you talk about Brazil and Italy and some of the other countries who are powers in the sport, it seems like they just make minor alterations, but their makeup is pretty much the same from Olympics to Olympics.
Yeah, I've been with the national team since 1985, and we've gone up and we've gone down. We've gone up in regards to our philosophy of what you're talking about. Back in '84, the team trained together all the time in San Diego, and '88 did the same thing, and then they moved to Colorado, and they've tried to maintain a training team through that whole period of time. The issue comes down to money. I mean, it just flat comes down to money, because you know those kids can be paid salary, those players can be paid a salary, they can be professional, but if you don't have the money, they're going to go somewhere else. The rest of the world does it this way. The rest of the world gets their team together, usually in May, and they play in the World League. Now, World League is the best league in the country in the world of countries. The best league is the one Loy's playing in as far as all the players come to. And the World League is worth a lot of money. It's worth like $4 or $5 million. So it's a very high prestige.
That's the group that came in here last year.
That's correct. We played Brazil.
Right.
But it takes a lot of money to get into the league. So we've been in the league, out of the league, in the league, and last year we were in the league because you alluded to the fact they were here. Now they're out of the league because they don't have enough money to get in. Well, that really hurts us. But as I said, the rest of the world takes their players and then they go in the World League, and they go to the World Championships, which are usually in Japan because they got all the money. And then their players go back to playing in the leagues again, like back to Italy and so on, so the Brazilian players. So that's how they maintain a year-round training program. But when you look at Brazil and Cuba and Italy and Poland and Japan and all those, they start volleyball for both men and women. Notice I said for both men and women at a very, very early age. So their pool of players is much, much larger than ours. I mean, much, much larger than ours. So they take these young people and they're training all the time, and then they interject those young people into their national team program, into the World League, not in the professional league, but in the World League and some other. So those kids get experience. We don't have that ability because we don't have the pool of players to choose from. Now we have some of that on the women's side because there are so many more numbers, but we still don't have Jack, and you got to have Jack to attract players. So we have a real problem with our national team program in regards to developing a system that allows young players to get international experience with older players instead of just throwing them to the wolves. And we have a real problem keeping our older players because we don't have any money to pay them.
And no short-term solution that's viable to all sides.
That's correct. That's correct. As I talked about the World League, you know, not only did I tell you it's very expensive to get into the World League, but you have to have a national TV contract also. Well, we don't have a national TV contract, of which I really have a hard time understanding because from my understanding, television is crying for programming, at least on the sports side. I mean, I see some stuff on some of the sports channels that I'm sure many people like and enjoy, but I don't necessarily. And there are a lot of volleyball people out there, we know that, but for some reason we can't get those programs on national television. That's beyond me because I've not been involved in the politics of USA Volleyball and the things that I think that they ought to be able to do that for some reason they haven't been able to do.
Interesting. We're going to take a break, and we will continue our conversation about volleyball in general, and eventually we're going to get back to IPFW volleyball in particular, but that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Let me show you something amazing. This is Amanda. She was born with a serious skin condition. You're about to see it disappear. Some might call this magic, but the real magic's happened on the inside. The child's self-esteem has been restored. Don't let anything get in the way of being a kid.
This is David Copperfield for the American Academy of Dermatology.
Dr. Matthew Kubik is an architectural engineering professor at IPFW who utilizes his experience to teach his students one-on-one.
So it's really shoulder-to-shoulder learning that we're looking at problems together for the first time.
Dr. Kubik also is the director of the honors program at IPFW. His ability to teach on a personal level allows him to educate to the needs of his honors students.
They want more conversation. They want a closer contact with professors. They want interactive learning in the classroom.
He is thankful for the advantages of a combined classroom of young students and students who are returning to college after years in the workplace.
That mix of students creates a classroom environment that is exciting, that's vibrant.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic this week is volleyball, men's style. Our guest is the Dean of Coaches here at IPFW, head men's volleyball coach Arnie Ball. And Arnie, we were talking about all kinds of things a few moments ago, but I do want to follow up with one question in regards to Loy. What some of our viewers may know or may not know, Loy not only is married, but he is now a father as well, and it makes you a grandpa. Talk about the new arrival.
Is there any correlation between being grandpa and being dean?
I don't know. I'm a grandpa too, but I'm not a dean, that's for sure.
That dean thing scares me to death.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. You'd be disappointed if I didn't give you a hard time of some kind, wouldn't you? Loy and Sarah have a little boy. His name is Dyer, and he was born in August, and in September he went to Italy. So he was a little over 3 weeks old, and off he was gone. And we get pictures back on a regular basis via the internet, thank goodness. And because Grandma and Grandpa are pretty anxious to see him or get their hands on him. He's a big boy, which I guess we might expect. And as I told you earlier, Grandpa's already working on the marketing side. Yeah. So.
But do you have your Italian dictionary with you? Because when he comes back.
I do not. Actually, we're going to go over and see him here in a couple of weeks. But my Italian's not very good. Fortunately, Loy's is very good, so he'll have to just escort us around. It'll be fine.
Let's go back, if we can, now back to IPFW volleyball. And I mentioned at the outset of the program that it was a frustrating year last year. 9-15 overall, 8-8 in the MIVA, 6-6 at home, 3-8 in the road, 0-1 in a neutral court. And if we look at some other numbers, and I'm prone to looking at numbers sometimes, we were out-attacked, out-killed, out-assisted, out-aced, out-dug, but we did out-block our opponents. Capsulize just how frustrating it was last year. It's very on IPFW, like, because we've been a contender, and you had 4 seniors that graduated the year before that were a cornerstone of this team and this program. And I don't know, obviously you mentioned before, strike one, no senior leadership going into last season, and then you had the rule changes and everything else that came into play.
Well, you know, the difficult part about all that is that when you have such a good team like we had, and you end up losing those kids, and when you have a program like ours, so we'll just back up just a little bit. When you have a program like ours that has 4.5 scholarships, it's impossible to stockpile. And when you have a campus like ours, it makes it even more difficult to stockpile, because we don't get kids to walk on because they want to come to our campus. Now, we get kids to walk on because they want to be part of a volleyball program. But Penn State and Ohio State and even Ball State, UCLA in particular, get different kinds of kids to walk on, a higher level athlete to walk on. And so they're able to develop a pool of players because we have to rely solely on that scholarship money that's available. And everybody else is the same amount, but in order to truly build a base, you got to have some people that aren't getting any money, who eventually maybe could. Now, occasionally we get some of those kids. So when you look at, just going back in our history, and when we started going to Final Fours in the 90s, and we finished up in 94 when Loy and Norman and all those guys graduated, we went right down the pooper scooper because we had all of our resources tied up in those people, and we were unable to bring people along at the lower level to make sure we could maintain it. Well, then it took us a while to get it built back up, and then of course back in 99, 98, 99, in that area, man, we're all world again. Well, once again, we have all those resources tied up, and so when all those kids graduate, you go back. So now we're back in that recycle. I mean, it's just one of those things that unfortunately we have to live with that some other schools don't. Now we would like to get it to the point that where it balances out, you don't lose so many people at one time. But let's face it, when the good players come, you got to try and get them.
Well, yeah.
And because it cycles too. So all that leads to additional frustration not only for our coaching staff, but certainly for the players. A player like Jeff Patak, for instance, who was a starter on that team that played at UCLA in the Final Four, loses in 5 to Long Beach, and then all of a sudden the next year it's like he looks around and goes, okay, who am I going to play with now? That Hector's gone, and Javier's gone, and Chris is gone, and Mike's gone, and Scotty's gone. I mean, those 3 All-Americans right there, and I'm just, you just don't replace people like that just like that. It takes time. So all that led to that frustration as well. And then, of course, the fact that we didn't have any seniors. We talked about that before. We were really relying upon a couple of freshmen, and the one freshman in particular that we thought would do really well didn't handle playing at this level very well. Not so much physically, but emotionally. Because it's a big jump, for sure, to throw somebody into that. So all that just leads to all that frustration that we went through last year, and it's something that we have, once again, if you look back at we have a history of that, and hopefully I'm able to explain a little bit on why it takes place. We don't like it, we don't want it to be like that, but right now we're not sure how to avoid it.
You mentioned 4.5 scholarships that were available. With our change to Division I, and I'll get around to something we briefly talked about last year in a moment, are there more available scholarships now, or is it still the same figure, or is it lower?
This figure is the same. The NCAA mandates that men's volleyball has 4.5 scholarships. I think water polo also has 4.5, and there may be somebody else a little lower, but we're the lowest scholarship allotment programs in the NCAA.
So an IPFW has 4.5 and a UCLA has 4.5?
Correct.
Okay. I was thinking about it, and I know you and I talked a little bit last year how UCLA is able, and they're the kings of men's volleyball, how they're able to stockpile and beyond.
Well, and once again, going back into some history, but dealing with this issue, because this is a real tough issue for us. And I don't want to get in trouble here, because I can get in trouble real quick here. But it's a very difficult issue for us when we have 4.5 and the women have 12. I mean that's, and I understand gender equity.
I don't mean to incite a riot.
Yeah, you won't, because I'll keep my emotions under control very well. But there are some issues that we have to deal with. But we all deal with them. But when we talk about UCLA and Stanford, and not Pepperdine, but those two in particular, BYU, Penn State, Ball State's a little bit that way, so is Ohio State. They're able to stockpile kids because of the status of their university. I know the chancellor wouldn't like to hear me say that necessarily, but there's a difference. And those kids who walk on traditionally come from families that can afford to pay to have their child go to school. Stanford, for instance, they get really good numbers because Stanford alums send their kids back to Stanford. UCLA is a very inexpensive school in regards to California kids going to school there, and of course the status of their academic program and the status of their athletic program, kids just go there. I mean, they go to school there, and they're pretty high-level players. Pennsylvania has a lot of men's volleyball, high school men's volleyball, so high school kids walk on there and play. And there are some other ways that those schools attract kids as well. So our job is to be creative, and we just have to be more creative in ways of attracting kids here, and we've done a good job of that. Our problem, that I alluded to before, our problem is to develop a strong pool of players that keeps us at a high level all the time and not has to do this kind of thing, and I still haven't figured it out yet.
Well, let's take a look now at the upcoming roster for this coming year. We now have a senior on the team, and you mentioned him a moment ago, Jeff Patak. I think when we visited towards the end of the year and on your show, Jeff had the opportunity when our season ended to go down and to Colorado Springs and work with the Olympic program. And unfortunately, he suffered a knee injury. What is his status? And talk about Jeff, first of all.
Well, Jeff really had a great summer out in Colorado until his tendonitis set in so bad. He's got real bad knees, has had ever since he came here. And when that tendonitis set in, he just couldn't go anymore because of the extensive training that they go through. But I talked to Coach Beal about Jeff, and they really, really like him a lot. I mean, they want him to stay in the program. We just got to try and get his knees healed up so they can continue to play at a real high level. He is tremendously athletic. So he had a great summer from that standpoint. He went back home early because of the knees. He also had some difficulty within his family. His mother was very ill and unfortunately passed away not too long ago. So that was another issue that Jeff dealt with this summer. And then in the middle of October, he tore his knee up here in practice and had to have surgery. He had a meniscus flip over. First time I've ever seen it before, but Doc showed me all the pictures and showed what they had to do. So right now he's in major rehab, and it's still somewhat questionable whether or not he'll be able to be available in January 11th.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
We're keeping our fingers crossed. He will be able to play this season. We're just not sure about the opening game.
Another senior, RCR Kleos. And I think I'm getting closer to pronouncing it right.
You're real close. That's better than I can do. I butcher it badly.
He is a 6'6" senior from Cyprus. And talk about him for a moment.
Well, ours is a pillar of strength because, number one, he comes from Cyprus where he had to spend 2 years in the Army. He understands work. He understands work ethic. He understands why he's here to go to school and play volleyball. Ours is going to serve a role of number one guy off the bench probably on our team this year. It depends on how everybody gets healed up. We have some more physical problems as well. But right now he would be number 3 on the outside starting position. And certainly with the kind of schedule we play, it means that he will get an opportunity to play for sure. He's a tremendously good student. He's close to a 4.0 student every year, so he sets a great example for our young kids that way. So ours is just a neat kid to have on our team.
Third senior from Racine, Wisconsin, 6'7", Josh Sanders.
Right now, he's our most improved player from last spring to this fall. Josh worked really hard in the weight room, did the things we asked him to do over the summer. He's come back really strong. He's much quicker. His blocking skills have gotten better. We're expecting really big things out of Josh, both offensively and defensively blocking at the net. He will come out of the back row. Our libero will play for him in the back row because his defensive skills are not as good as our libero is. And Josh knows that. That's no big deal to Josh. But I'm really happy with Josh and the things that he's done for this last summer and for this fall with our training. And of course, Josh is really a good student too. I just, for those that know Dr. Leonard, I just talked to him a little bit ago, and Dr. Leonard has got a kind of reputation on campus as being a tough professor, and he tells me that Josh is doing extremely well in his class. So I'm real pleased with Josh.
2 juniors. And the first one we start with Angel Ruiz, 6'6", out of Puerto Rico.
Well, Angel's going to have to carry a major load for us offensively this year, of which he was unable to do last year, not necessarily his own doing. Angel also has gotten stronger and better. His blocking has improved a great deal. His backcourt defense has improved, and his serving has gotten a lot better. I mean, Angel is going to have to be the center, tackles, that terminology for our team. Because he's going to have to anchor the middle for us. He and Josh are going to have to anchor the middle for us. Right now, we only have 2 middles. Part goes back to part of that stuff we were talking about before. So those 2 kids are going to play all the time, except when Josh comes out of the back row. We expect Angel to probably play in the back row and play all the way around because he's a good, can do some things for us offensively. Angel has improved over the summer. He hasn't worked quite as hard in the weight room as Josh has, but he's gotten better. His attitude this fall has been wonderful. because Jeff has been out and Matty has been out most of the fall, while Angel's had really had to step up in a leadership role, and he's done a really good job.
The other junior is last year's setter, and I hear rumors, and maybe you can confirm them, that he may play more than one spot this year, but that's Ryan Staley.
Ryan is the most versatile player we have on the team. He can play libero, he can play outside, he can play opposite, he can play setter. And that's the role we're going to expect from him this year. He works extremely hard. He's a great kid. He just has a lot of all-around skills. You know, he's not real big, but he's very athletic. He hits the ball very hard on the left side. He plays tenacious defense. So he's one of those kids you'd like to have on your team, because at any given point you can put him in somewhere and he can make some things happen.
We've got 3 sophomores and a number of freshmen. And before we get to them, John says it's time to take a break.
Good old John, time to stop. See, I told you we'd talk too much, John.
So we're going to take a break and catch our breath, and we'll continue our discussion on IPFW volleyball when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Matthew Shepard died after he was beaten and tied to a fence. 2 men have been charged. 1 pleaded guilty.
You know, my biggest regret after walking into the hospital and seeing him was I didn't tell him enough as a father that I loved him. The thing that I've learned most is that your son is your son and your daughter is your daughter, regardless of whether they're straight or gay.
A Stargate. That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilk and the rest of my team use on Stargate SG-1. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. And education can provide you with a similar passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and graduate.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our guest this week is the head men's volleyball coach here at IPFW, Arnie Ball, and we're having a delightful discussion, and I'm very appreciative that he's come on the show this week for us. We're in the middle of talking about this year's roster, and we talked about the seniors, we talked about the juniors, and now let's turn our attention to the 3 sophomores on the team. And we'll start off with Maddie Pashesky, who you mentioned briefly a moment ago, our Canadian import. Talk about...
You want me to talk about him?
Sure!
Well, you're doing better at pronouncing his name than I am. Maddie came back this summer, or from the summer, in great shape. You know, Maddie was one of the kids that I was alluding to earlier, being a freshman, and we really expected great things from Matt as a freshman, and it just didn't happen for a number of reasons. But he came back this fall in great shape, really banging the ball. He had lost some weight, he'd weight trained, done everything we wanted to do. And before we ever got to fall practice, he blew his knee out and had to have ACL surgery. So he did that about 2 weeks before Jeff did his. So they both had surgery, and Dr. Pritchard did a good job putting them back together, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. Maddie's rehabilitation is going really well, but he hasn't practiced with us at all this fall. But we expect really good things from him because of what we saw when he came back, before we started our regular practice. Probably looks like right now that Matt and Jeff will start for us on the outside. Now, depends on their health, obviously, but it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. And that will give us a great 1-2 punch on the left side that we didn't have last year. So we're excited about that, and I've already talked about Josh and Angel in the middle. And once we get to one of our freshman kids, I'll even talk about them some more. So we have very high expectations of Matt, and we have no reason to believe that he won't fulfill those once we get him healed back up.
The other two sophomores, local products, Justin Berger from Northrop and Dustin Sherman from Northside. And I remember Dustin Sherman last year in that one match, talk about the all-out effort, where he darn near killed himself and came within a fraction of an inch of serious injury, and nobody realized it at the time.
He was lucky he didn't get killed.
Yeah.
Literally lucky he didn't kill him. Right now, Dusty's going to fill the same role he filled last year. We don't see him as the libero, but we see him as coming in a crucial time, serving the ball and being able to play defense like he does. He has a great attitude in practice. It hasn't changed a bit. It's just the same. He's a really good server, and he plays defense left with reckless abandon like we just talked about. So there's no need for us to screw him up. We're going to just leave him alone. Justin, we're not sure what's going to happen with Justin yet. Justin's not sure what's going to happen with Justin yet in regards to even what position he's going to play. We'd like for him to be able to play outside, but his passing needs a lot of work yet. He's played some opposite for us, but he's not quite a big enough banger out of the back row at this point. So he's kind of a utility player also, except that he can't play middle and he's not a setter. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with Justin.
That leads us to a half a dozen freshmen. And I was commenting to John before we started taping the show, the recruiting trails sometimes lead to, I don't want to say strange places, but different places. And when you look at this core of freshmen, you have one person from Ohio, one person from Wisconsin, one person from Minnesota, one person from, I believe, Puerto Rico, and two people from here in Indiana. Let's start. I guess we'll start with Nick Bellman, who is a 6'4" freshman out of Akron, Ohio.
We recruited Nick to help our team GPA. He's a real smart kid. We got to get our GPA up. No, and actually that's true. He is a very good student. But Nick comes from Ohio in a junior program that we did quite a bit of work with last summer, and he is a tenacious competitor. Right now, because of the injuries, he's starting in practice on the outside, but he probably will be in our libero. He's a good passer, plays really good defense, does those kinds of things really well. Offensively, he's okay. He's got a pretty good arm. We got to work on his serving a whole bunch. But he's just he's a nice addition to our team. He's one of those kids that you can use in a number of different places. You know, he's one of those kids that we talked about. You build the support system. Well, he's part of that support system, and he's gonna do some nice things for us before the year's over.
Jason Morgan, 6'5", out of Plymouth, Minnesota.
Yeah, Jason played on a club team out of Wisconsin. Actually drove from Minneapolis to Milwaukee a lot to play last year. We saw him play in Chicago. He actually was playing middle on the club team. He's not quite big enough to play middle, even though right now he is our backup middle if something were to happen, and we've had enough of that, so I'm knocking on everything I can find. Jason, once again, is going to have to find his role. When we went to Las Vegas here in the fall, he played on the outside, but the other teams found him pretty quickly because his passing is not real strong because he's never had to. He's never played that position, so it's something he's going to have to learn while he's here. Right now, we see him in the outside position, or maybe a backup role at the opposite. His playing time will be somewhat limited once we get Jeff and Maddie healed up. Doesn't mean that in the long term he's not going to be a real nice player for us, just that his inexperience is not going to allow him to play a great deal this particular year.
One of the Wisconsin recruits, Mitch Dreisbach, 6'6", out of Mishawaka Penn High School.
Out of Indiana, yeah. Mitch comes to us with a very limited volleyball background. He played in a junior team that actually was out of Fort Wayne last year, but has very limited playing time. He had a high school team, but the level of high school volleyball in Indiana is not nearly as what it is in Illinois or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or California. But he is very athletic. Played on the Penn football team that won the state championship. Played split end, I think, something of that nature. Jumps real well, does some really nice things, and has progressed very nicely this fall. We think that he will be our starting opposite at this point. And he has the capability of doing some really nice things there. Obviously, his inexperience that sometimes will jump up and maybe bite him in the rear end or us. So there'll be some times we're going to need to pull him out and let him sit and analyze what's going on and maybe put him back in. But Mitch is a player that is going to contribute a great deal to our team this year.
The other Hoosier recruit, 6'5", Matt McCarter out of Lafayette Jeff.
Yeah, we saw him play in a high school tournament that actually we hosted here at IPFW last spring. And we've known of Matt for quite some time, and his matter of fact, I know his family. And we actually thought we might bring him in as a setter, and that's still a possibility, but kind of long range. He has been a pleasant surprise. He's done some things at a higher level than I thought he would, once again because of his background in Indiana and that's the level of play we play. Matt's going to be in a situation too where he's not going to get to play a whole lot, and most of these freshmen know that because of the returning kids we have and so on and so forth. But he has some potential to be a really nice player someday. Now it's a matter of how hard he wants to work and the experience he gets in the next 4 years.
That leaves two, and the first one will be a 6'3" freshman setter from Bayamon, Puerto Rico, Dennis Santiago.
Well, Dennis is actually a freshman eligibility-wise, but he's a sophomore in school. He went to school 1 year down in Puerto Rico. And hang on to your hat. The kid is exciting. He's a real good jumper, not as big as Hector and Javier, but not far away. He's left-handed. He attacks the ball from anywhere. We've run more middle in the last 4 weeks of practice, or 5 weeks, I guess, than we did all last year. Angel and Josh had died and thought they'd gone to heaven. This kid is a good blocker. He's an okay server, but he's going to be real good. And you cannot hit a ball in front of him that he can't get. He is really, really quick. And he's very emotional. He loves to play the game. We're really excited about having him here. We know that he's going to make some mistakes, but he's going to make some mistakes being real aggressive, real positive. He's very easy to coach. He listens really well. He absorbs everything you tell him. And once again, this doesn't mean he's not going to screw up, because he will, but he's going to be fun to watch for the next 3 or 4 years.
Last but not least, the tallest freshman and probably the tallest player on the team, 6'9" Mike Semrad from Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Yeah, he's the most inexperienced player on the team. He comes out of a junior program in Milwaukee again. Obviously, he's a very big kid. I mean, he's a big kid. Not only is he 6'9", but he's really a big kid. We're probably going to redshirt him this year because he really needs to get some additional training in the gym and over the summer, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't totally decided upon that yet, but he and I have talked about it, so if he sees this, it won't be a big surprise to him. But he's a big kid. He just has a lot to learn. Nice kid.
Am I missing anybody?
Nope, that's it.
Now let's look ahead to the schedule. And we're excited here at College 56 because if all goes well, we may just get to televise every home match. We're hoping so. And it starts on January the 11th, and a relatively easy opening opponent, Long Beach State.
Well, I don't want to put any pressure on John and Bernie, but you know, all the people that I've gone out and talked to from a marketing standpoint, I've told them all of our games are going to be televised. So, Bernie, we need to have all the games televised. Yeah, what a great way to start. You know, we've developed a really nice relationship with Long Beach over the years. Coach Rattel, who's now retired, but now Alan Knipe, who actually played on a team that I coached and trained here in Fort Wayne. We've developed this relationship of going back and forth, and we've been out to their place the last couple of years. And I told Alan, you know, what I'd really like to do is set up kind of a home and home thing. So they're coming here. We're going back out there in March to play in their tournament, and we've also got some things cooking, I think, with USC, maybe in a couple of years to do the same kind of thing. And of course, Long Beach has traditionally been a powerhouse. They had a great team last year. They'll have a great team again this year. It'll be a wonderful way for us to start out. We just probably couldn't get anything any better than that, unless it would have been like back in '94 when UCLA was here. But I'm still expecting it to be really, really a good, not only a good match, but a good draw for our fans to open up with.
Come back the next night with an old foe, Concordia from Bronxville, New York.
Well,
payback time after what they did to us last year.
Yvonne, their coach, is once again a good friend, and he likes coming back here because we entertain him, and he entertains us too. He is masterful entertainer. I don't know what their team's going to be like. Their team's kind of like a revolving door. Some years they have all those foreign players, and some years they're gone, and then all of a sudden they show back up again. But certainly we owe Yvonne one, so we'll try and do our very best to give it to him.
You make your trip up to Canada the 18th and 19th of January.
What dumb guy would have scheduled a trip to way up there in January?
I think it's Mark Franke.
It's got to be Franke or Johnson or Smidlin or maybe even Pope. I don't know. Don't blame Pope. He wasn't even here yet, but he claims to do everything else, so we might as well blame Pope. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be colder than the devil up there. I talked to the coach up there. It's the first time we've gone that way. We've gone west before. Coach said, "Yeah, you got to make sure you come on Thursday because the weather may be bad enough, so bad you can't get in on Friday." I said, "No problem. We'll come on Thursday." So, actually, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been up in that part of the Canada before. And
what province is it?
It's up in Nova Scotia. Yeah, how about that, huh? Up in that area.
Send flares.
So the guy that I'm really concerned about, and this is true, I'm really concerned about Dennis because he's getting ready to see snow for the first time. And his dad emails me at least once every 2 weeks going, "Don't let my boy freeze." Like I'm going to put him out on the corner post with no clothes on, standing naked in the freeze, you know. But he is going to. It will be a cultural shock for him. But it'll be a great tournament. The teams are very good. It'll be good for our kids early in the year to play Long Beach and then turn right around and go play in that tournament.
And then we get into the MIVA season, and I know I'm looking forward to the big weekend in February, the 8th and 9th, back-to-back.
I'm not.
Ball State and
I'm not
Ohio
looking forward
State.
to it at all.
We're actually, believe it or not, John says we're starting to run short on time. How do you view the MIVA this year? Last year, Lewis ended up on top, I believe, and then they got knocked off in the tournament, and Ohio State goes to the Final Four, only to get knocked off by UCLA.
Well, the favorite has to be Ball State. They have all their players back, and they've got a really nice team. Lewis is going to have most of their Brazilians, or both their Brazilians back, and I think they'll be a good team. Loyola has all their players back, so they're going to be a good team. Everybody will predict that Quincy, IPFW, and Ohio State will be down a little bit. We're not going to be down. We're going to be better, for sure. Ohio State is going to be down a little bit, but Coach Hanson's such a good coach that I think the top 6 or 7 teams, it'll be a dogfight. It really will be, and that weekend in February is going to be really a tough one for us because we play Ball State and Ohio State back-to-back. But the league is going to be good. There's going to be some good play, and I just wouldn't count our team out of the thing.
Well, John says the bewitching hour has arrived, but...
See, John, I told you we could fill all that time. You had a real doubt about it, and I knew we could do it.
But I want to thank you for coming in today. It's always a treat, and we look forward to broadcasting a lot of matches this year on College 56 Sports. and hopefully it's going to be an exciting year. And we're also looking forward, if all goes well, the return of the Arnie Ball Show in January, when you and Mark Franke get to have some fun.
Well, I won't. We don't ever promise wins, but I will promise you we will be entertaining.
Well, good luck in the upcoming season. Hopefully everything will go well, and the kids will get healthy, and we'll bring excitement back to the Gate Sports Center.
Thanks, Mike.
Arnie Ball has been our guest this week, the head men's volleyball coach here at IPFW. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. As always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. A couple of quick program notes. This Sunday night, 7 p.m., we're going to show you the actual replay of last Friday night's Division I inaugural basketball game, which took place at the Memorial Coliseum, featuring Morehead State University and IPFW. So 7 o'clock, it was fun. Won't tell you who won, but if you haven't read the papers, tune into College 56 Sports for that. This Saturday, come to the Gate Sports Center. The women's basketball team, which won their opening game against Chicago State in overtime, will be playing host to Army. And next week, we invite you to come back. We're going to have a special program, a roundtable discussion involving various members of the media. So we invite you to tune in for that. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great week, a great Thanksgiving, and go Dons.